We have had 4 strikeouts consecutively. 3 by Valenzuela last inning, now 1 by Gooden, and the memories go back to 34 and the Hub.
Carl Hubbell's great moment came in the 1934 All-Star Game at his home park, New York's Polo Grounds. He was up against a murderous lineup and opposed by future Hall of Famer Lefty Gomez, and Hubbell started off shaky.
First time I ever led off in the All-Star Game, and I got a base hit. And I think Heine Manouche came up second and got a walk.
That brought to the plate a succession of the American League's most feared hitters of the day. Babe Ruth was up next, but Hubbell was ready with his famous screwball.
What I was trying to do was to strike Ruth out. He's the only one I was really trying to strike out, because if I can strike him out, and then Gehrig, if I can keep that ball down low, the breaking ball down low, get him to hit the ball on the ground, I got a chance for a double play, and I can get out of the inning.
Carl Hubbell, the great National League southpaw, the Giants is in the box. Strike 3, he's out.
With his screwball as baffling as ever, Hubbell followed by striking out Lou Gehrig. A double steal went for naught because he ended the inning by fanning Jimmy Fox. But Hubbell wasn't through. On his way to striking out 5 future Hall of Famers all in a row, he took the mound the next inning and got Al Simmons. Then came the moment. Hubbell threw, and Joe Cronin became victim number 5.
They were the great ones in the American League, and I'd say it's almost a miracle when you can do that.
The miracle moment of the Giants' King Carl Hubbell.
This year's All-Star Game will be played in San Francisco's Candlestick Park. Now, the National League starters are San Diego's Steve Garvey at first base, Ryne Sandberg of the Chicago Cubs at second, St. Louis Cardinal Ozzie Smith at shortstop. At third, Philadelphia's Mike Schmidt. In the outfield, Tony Gwynn of San Diego, Dale Murphy of the Atlanta Braves, and Darryl Strawberry of the New York Mets. Behind the plate, Gary Carter of Montreal. Well, with the All-Star ballots compiled, why don't we take a look at the starting lineup for the American League? California's Rod Carew at first base. Lou Whitaker of Detroit at second. Baltimore's Cal Ripken at shortstop. Kansas City's George Brett at third. In the outfield, New York's Dave Winfield. Chet Lemon of Detroit. And Reggie Jackson of California. The catcher, Detroit's Lance Parrish.
A breathtaking view from our Goodyear blimp of Candlestick Point set upon San Francisco Bay as we zoom in to windblown Candlestick Park. And this, then, is the scene set for the 1984 All-Star Game, the National League against the American League. ABC Sports presents the American League against the National League in the 1984 All-Star Game.
From the Atlanta Braves, outfielder Claudell Washington. Shortstop, Rafael Ramirez. Representing the Chicago Cubs, catcher Jody Davis. From the Cincinnati Reds, pitcher Mario Soto. Representing the Houston Astros, outfielder Jerry Mumphrey. From the Los Angeles Dodgers, outfielder Mike Marshall. Pitcher Fernando Valenzuela. Representing the Montreal Expos, third baseman Tim Wallach. Outfielder Tim Raines. From the New York Mets, pitcher Dwight Gooden. First baseman Keith Hernandez. Pitcher Jesse Orozco. Representing the Philadelphia Phillies, second baseman Juan Samuel. Pitcher Al Holland. From the Pittsburgh Pirates, catcher Tony Pena. Representing the St. Louis Cardinals, pitcher Bruce Sutter. From the San Diego Padres, pitcher Rich Gossage. And from the San Francisco Giants, catcher Bob Brenly. And outfielder Chili Davis. And now, the National League coaches from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Tom Lasorda. Representing the Pittsburgh Pirates, Chuck Tanner. And the rest of the National League staff from the Philadelphia Phillies, Claude Osteen. Representing the San Francisco Giants, Don Buford. And in the bullpen, from the San Francisco Giants, John Van Ornum. And the National League trainers, Dick Dent of the San Diego Padres, and Perry Archibald from the San Francisco Giants. Now the manager and starting lineup of the National League All-Star team. From the National League champion Philadelphia Phillies, the manager of this year's National League All-Star team, number 5, Paul Owens. And now the National League starters. Leading off in left field, the National League's top hitter with a .355 average from the San Diego Padres, number 19, Tony Gwynn. Batting second, the National League's Player of the Month for June from the Chicago Cubs, number 23, second baseman Ryan Sandberg. Batting in the third position and playing first base, a 9-time All-Star who received more votes than any other player in this year's balloting from the San Diego Padres, number 6, Steve Garvey. Batting fourth, the National League's most valuable player in both 1982 and 1983, the league leader in home runs this season, the center fielder from the Atlanta Braves, number 3, Dale Murphy. Hitting fifth and playing third base, a 6-time National League home run champion, appearing in his 9th All-Star game from the Philadelphia Phillies, number 20, Mike Schmidt. Batting in the 6th position, the National League's Rookie of the Year in 1983 from the New York Mets, number 18, right fielder Darryl Strawberry. Batting seventh, a 7-time All-Star and the most valuable player in the 1981 game, the catcher for the Montreal Expos, number 8, Gary Carter. Hitting eighth and playing shortstop, the winner of 4 consecutive Gold Gloves for his fielding excellence from the St. Louis Cardinals, number 1, Ozzie Smith. Batting ninth and warming up in the bullpen, the National League's co-leader with 13 victories and making his first All-Star appearance from the Montreal Expos, number 52, Charlie Lee. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to present the honorary captains for the 55th All-Star Game. Representing the American League, a Hall of Famer, a gentleman who spent all but one of his seasons of his illustrious career with the Detroit Tigers. He achieved single-season highs of 58 home runs in 1938 and 183 runs batted in 1937, number 5, Hank Greenberg. The National League's honorary captain was one of the most popular players ever to wear the uniform of the San Francisco Giants. A six-time All-Star and most valuable player of the 1969 game in which he hit 2 home runs. Welcome back, number 44, Willie McCovey.
With the Olympic baseball teams from the United States and Chinese Taipei, plus the Japanese college all-stars forming the Olympic rings. Please rise as Chuck Mangione plays the Canadian national anthem. And now, to honor America, recording artist Huey Lewis and the News with the Star Spangled Banner.
One, two.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glow, the bombers stinging air, gave proof the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Multicolored balloons descending from Candlestick Park in San Francisco. What a sight in the late afternoon.
as we are set for baseball's 55th All-Star Game. Coming right up. The pregame pageantry at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, as you can tell, just a lovely day. Of course, you've got the typical Candlestick wind. There, the incoming and outgoing commissioners of baseball. On the left, Peter Uberoth will be a pretty busy man over the next month with non-baseball matters as head of the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee. And Bowie Kuhn as the National League All-Stars take the field. First time that the All-Star Game has been held at Candlestick Park since 1961. Defensively, Steve Garvey of the San Diego Padres at first base. He was the top vote getter in the balloting. At second base, the emerging star Ryne Sandberg. Great year thus far at Chicago. The shortstop is the acrobatic one who can hit 140, and you'd still enjoy watching him play. Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals. And the National League's, I guess, perennial third baseman of late in All-Star play, Mike Schmidt of the Philadelphia Phillies. In the outfield, where the top three vote getters get in, Tony Gwynn plays right field for San Diego, but so does Darryl Strawberry from New York, so they have moved Gwynn to left field. In center field, the position he normally plays for the Atlanta Braves, the two-time MVP, Dale Murphy. And in right field, the man who led the outfielders in vote-getting, Darryl Strawberry of the first-place Mets. Back of the plate will be Gary Carter. And it's an all-Montreal battery at the outset because Charlie Lee will be the starting pitcher. And here he comes in from the bullpen, 13-4 with a 2.91 ERA. Charlie Lee emerging this year, the ace of the staff. It's been a down year for Steve Rogers, who has been the ace for so many seasons at Montreal, and Lee really coming into his own. Carl Hubble, one of the men who will be throwing out the first ball. That is he, up from his home in Arizona. And Stu Miller, the legendary Stu Miller, as Howard said, a bit overblown, no pun intended, his being blown off the rubber in 1961 at the All-Star Game here. What people forget, too, is he was the winning pitcher in that game. Now the announcement to the crowd.
Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin. And Stu Miller, who may be best known for that gust of wind which blew him off the pitching rubber in the 1961 game, the only other All-Star game played here in San Francisco.
Legendary. Two legendary giants in their own right. Carl Hubble, 50 years ago, at the Polo Grounds in 1934, the man on the right. The one thing about the Giants, they do not try to hide the fact that it's windy at Candlestick Park. Of course, that's like trying to hide an elephant anyway. You're not going to suppress that notion, but they do make light of it. So here's Hubble now. 60 feet 6 inches is a little too much.
What a lovely scene. They always talk about the 1934 All-Star Game. Now he can throw it from there.
To a screwball.
As usual.
Never was a better pitch game, I don't think, than in the 30s. 17 innings, Hub against Tex Carlton. Hub won it 1-0. Just an extraordinary pitch.
And now Stu Miller, who owns a liquor store in nearby San Carlos, who won that game despite being blown off the rubber, and then followed that up in a year in which two All-Star games were played with another great performance in Boston in the second All-Star game of '61. Charlie Lee going to the mound of the Montreal Expos, the starting pitcher. Howard talked to him about what it meant when he found out he'd made the team and gotten the assignment.
Well, my initial reaction was just excitement when I learned of being on the team. I thought I had a chance to start the game, but depending on what Joaquin did and how he reacted in his last game. When he chose not to come, I figured with my rest, the days I had in between my last game and the All-Star game, I had a good shot at starting. When they told me I was starting the game, I was tremendously excited and pumped up and just glad to be here and want to contribute.
This is a tough, very tough American League hitting lineup. Are you in awe of them in any sense? Any sign of butterflies?
Well, I get nervous before every start, no matter who I'm pitching against, but I think that just comes with the trade. I think we have a pretty good lineup also, and I've got some good guys playing behind me. I know the American League has a good team, but I can't change the way I pitch. I got to go at them just like I have all year long and hope things work out for the best.
A look around Candlestick Park, where it's 335 down the lines, 365 to the alleys, 400 to straightaway center. The fence is 9 feet high all the way around. This park originally had grass. There was grass here when they played the All-Star game in '61. They went to AstroTurf for a number of years when they enclosed the park and then brought the grass back in 1978. Lee Wire at 6'6" and about 250 pounds is one man who won't be blown around tonight. He's the biggest umpire in the majors, at least in the National League he is, with Al Clark of the American at first base, Dutch Rennert National second, Durwood Merrill American the umpire at third. Fred Brocklander will be down the left field line, and Rocky Rowe from the American League will be down the right field line. 59,000 plus at Candlestick Park. The All-Star game has been a sellout for quite some time, and as Howard put it, very, very difficult when a ball is hit into the air to know exactly how far it will carry. There are the flags right now, but that will change constantly, and there will be times perhaps during the night when one flag will be going in one direction and the other flag in the exact opposite direction.
This is where Jim Palmer should make his comeback. Just put the ball in the air and let the wind take it to the plate.
It's also a park in which we may see Phil Necro tonight, as if the knuckleball doesn't get enough help with normal currents.
Well, I'd like to say that watching batting practice before the ball game, there were a number of balls shooting out. Eddie Murray and Reggie Jackson put on quite a show for the fans that came early.
If anything here, the ball definitely travels better to right than to left. So here we go. The 84 All-Star game is underway with Lou Whitaker of the Tigers looking at a strike, 0-1. Charlie Lee, born in France. His father was in the service at the time. But when he was 3 months old, he left there, moved to Memphis, and still makes Memphis his home. Whitaker reaches out and punches it down the right field line. It's a fair ball. Lou started to stumble around first, but is able to regain his balance and slides in with a double. The Tigers are strong up the middle and represented with Parrish and Whitaker and Lemon in the starting lineup.
Well, here we had an off-speed pitch that Whitaker just reached out. He was fooled a little bit out on his front foot and just poked it inside the foul line in right field and wound up at second base.
So the leadoff man is on, and Rod Carew, who's a great bunter, comes up. Mike Schmidt plays in on the grass at third for the National League. Carew, an all-star in every one of his seasons. Takes low. Rod came up in '67 as a Minnesota Twins rookie, then was traded to the Angels after the '79 campaign, as you look at Whitaker. And he's made the All-Star team in every year, though in 3 of those seasons he had to be replaced because of injury. The count.
7-time batting champion. And, as you said, an excellent bunter. But this fella gets the bat on the ball so good, it looks like he can place it wherever he wants.
Carew making his 12th All-Star start. Remember, he used to be a second baseman. He made 6 starts at second, and this is his 6th at first. Carew fouls it back, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. There's little doubt that Eddie Murray has the better figures, but Ron has been so popular through the years. And it's not a bad season for him by any stretch of the imagination. Well, I guess in a relative sense, you might say when Carew is hitting .292, it's well below par. But for most other mortals, not too bad. Swing and a miss, 2-2 on a high fastball.
Out of the strike zone. And Eddie Murray doesn't seem to mind that Carew gets those votes every year. He's accepted it and thinks that he'll be the man in the future.
Well, somewhere down the line, perhaps when Murray's career is winding down as well, and he's not what he was in his prime, he'll be the beneficiary of a couple of added All-Star starts. It normally works that way. Ball, strike 3. Rod Carew goes down looking.
He wasn't looking for that fastball. When I was managing, I don't think we ever got a pitch like this by him. Good hard fastball. Moved to the outside part of the plate.
So 1 out with Whitaker at second base in the first inning, and Cal Ripken, last year's American League MVP, and a durable man, He doesn't want to take an inning off. Played every inning of every game last year. Regular season, playoffs, World Series. Looks for the strike. 0-1 a count. Whitaker, who led off with a double at second base. Grounded to third. Schmidt holds the runner. And over to Garvey for the out. So Whitaker is still at second base with 2 down as Lee has struck out Carew and got Ripker on a ground ball. And Winfield is coming up.
Lee's shown us a real good fastball, and so far it's been up in the strike zone. Now, whether that's by design or not right now, only Lee knows.
Look at the numbers for Dave Winfield. 370 at the All-Star break. He gets a little hotter, they're going to start talking about 400. And he's done extremely well in his 7 previous All-Star games. 8 for 20.
3 for 3 last time around.
He's already had 3 5-hit games this season. And that one gets away from Carter, but not far enough. Whitaker at second base. 2 out in the first inning. The whole Tiger middle would have been here. We mentioned that Lemon and Parrish and Whitaker are in the starting lineup. Alan Trammell was a reserve, but he was hurt on Sunday night in Texas, and Alfredo Griffin, the Blue Jays shortstop, is on the American League 28-man roster replacing him.
One thing people don't really know about Winfield is the fact that he can really run the bases. He can run fast.
Schmidt picks it up and throws over to Garvey, and that's that for the American League in the top of the first. No runs, a double by Whitaker, Strandham at second after a half. The American League nothing, and the National League coming up.
Major League Baseball request.
Tigers is the second baseman. Cal Ripken, mentioned he played every inning last year and has that streak intact this season, is the shortstop. And George Brett, who started the year on the disabled list and had surgery, has come back and wins the vote at third. The outfield, Dave Winfield, has been all over the outfield in New York, and they have him in left field tonight. In center field, from the Tigers, and just beginning to get his due on a nationwide level, Chet Lemon. Boy, does he get a jump. Reggie Jackson, who's been a DH all season long, is in right. Back of the plate, the Tigers' Lance Parrish. We were in Montreal a couple of years ago, and he put on a show from back of the plate with his arm. And Dave Steve of the Toronto Blue Jays gets to start the All-Star game for the American League for the second year in a row. He was the winning pitcher last year. The 5-inning rule, by the way, is waived for starters in the All-Star game. There are a number, in fact, of different rules. All starters, except pitchers, have to play 3 innings. The pitchers cannot go more than 3, except if the game goes into extra innings. We talked about the starting pitcher not needing to go 5 innings. And then you have that last catcher rule. If your last catcher is injured, a removed catcher may re-enter the game, so you don't have to save a man at the end, at least back of the plate.
Well, that was a good rule that they put in, because you'd always have a catcher on your ball club that couldn't get into the ball game, and now you're not afraid to use the whole roster if you have to.
Tony Gwynn of the San Diego Padres, who leads the National League in hitting, takes a strike. Mr. San Francisco, Joe DiMaggio.
Incredible man. Every passing year, those ball hands.
Grounded to the right side, and it's Whitaker taking care of Gwynn for the out. 1 away here in the first inning. Now Ryne Sandberg.
From the Chicago Cubs.
Ryne Sandberg has a couple of things really going for him right now. He is starting to get a tremendous amount of nationwide publicity. The Cubs, of course, are in the race, right in the thick of things in the East. That helps. And also, he plays on one of the super stations, WGN in Chicago, so he gets a lot of exposure. And after being well down in the balloting at second, he came on at the end and won out over Steve Sachs, among others, who've been the early leader.
Well, 2 managers made statements about Sandberg in the past month. Whitey Herzog of the Cardinals said he might be one of the best he's ever seen, and his own manager, Jimmy Fry, said he puts him in a class with Bobby Grich.
Broken bat, grounder down to second, and Whitaker takes care of Sandberg. So there are 2 down in the bottom of the first inning on 2 ground balls to Lou Whitaker. And up comes Steve Garvey.
Number 6, Steve
Garvey is not loved here at Candlestick simply because Giants fans just hate the Dodgers, and they still think of Garvey as a Dodger.
Garvey took the booing good-naturedly in the pregame introductions. Give the fans a tip of the hat.
Steve, who's at 409 lifetime in All-Star games, lines it foul off to the right. That's the trophy from Gillette, awarded annually to the top vote getter. Garvey in his second season with San Diego, but still obviously as popular as ever. And lines it into right field for a base hit. Reggie Jackson can't come up with the ball, and Garvey will take the extra base as Reggie recovers to get it back in. So Reggie Jackson, who's been a DH all season, back in the outfield and charged with an error. It's 1-1, a single and E9.
Garvey got himself a nice high pitch here. Stayed right with it, hit it to the outfield. Now, whether that logo there bothered Reggie or not at all, he tried to get down on the ball, but missed it with his glove. It hit him in the left ankle. And I know Reggie don't feel too well about that.
Just what you talked about in the pregame show. The one negative, the one vulnerability.
Yes, it is.
Dale Murphy is the batter, the two-time National League MVP. Reggie has not played the outfield since last August. Not making excuses for Reggie. You don't get very many true bounces here, infield or outfield. This park is built on landfill, and it's tough.
And it's tougher when you haven't been out there in that period of time.
But they do have landfill, and at least it's not sinking. That's
Well,
the one thing you can say.
We don't know yet at this point. There have been a few people around here who would like to have sunk this park through the years. But it certainly looks a lot better with the natural surface than it did when they had the AstroTurf in here. 0-2 the count on Murphy. 94 miles per hour. We've clocked Steve on that last pitch.
Now that's an interesting graphic, seeking to become the first starting pitcher to win 2 straight All-Star games.
And he's facing the man who leads the league in home runs with 20 in Murphy. Ahead 0-2 with Garvey at second. Foul back.
Throwing at 94 miles an hour, he's got a good chance to do it, too, if his team gets him a couple runs.
That's what he needs, some runs.
He leads the National League in homers, and what's interesting is that the American League leader and Major League leader, Dave Kingman, from the A's across the bay with 23, is taking a vacation, not named to the team. Murphy hits it into left field for a base hit. Garvey is being waved in. Winfield can throw, and the throw to Parrish. He drops the ball. And Garvey is safe. The throw was there, but Parrish couldn't hold on as Garvey was waved around by his former manager, now coaching third, Tommy LaSorda.
Well, here he comes, and if you'll notice, Parrish is right in the baseline, and he had to take his eye off just a little bit to take a look at that runner. And right there, it didn't look like he touched the plate. We'll get another look at it right here. He's coming hard. And when you're in that baseline and in front of the plate, that's a dangerous situation. Probably just for a second, he took his eye off. We get to see him now. He might have gotten it right on the corner with his hand.
His left hand.
Left hand.
Got the edge of it.
And we can see the umpire, Lee Wire, calling him safe up in the corner.
They give Murphy a single. They've also given Parrish an error on that play. So that means no run batted in. 2 errors in the inning for the American League as the National League leads 1-0.
LaSorda took a chance sending Steve home. He knows that Steve doesn't have foot speed. He knows that Winfield has a great arm, but it worked for him.
Well, Winfield
has a great arm on him.
Winfield charged the ball well, too. Came up with it one-handed and threw it and got rid of it in a hurry. And it was an excellent throw.
Mike Schmidt takes a strike and the count 0-1. Dave Steve of Toronto and the starter for the National from Montreal. The 2 Canadian teams. Well represented as Schmidt takes outside. 1 ball, 1 strike the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count.
At an all-star game, you really don't have time to go over the hitters, and by that I mean tell your pitcher exactly where to pitch him. The pitcher himself, and number one, you don't have a good book on the opposition as far as them being in the other league. But the pitcher himself will seek as much information as he possibly can from people that have come over from the other league.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Wouldn't a good way to scout the other league be to just watch television?
Yes, it would.
If one
as much as you possibly can.
If one has Al's number of sets and spends that many hours every day watching 8 different teams.
It's all right. Emmy said the satellite dish is being put into the Hamptons at this very moment as we speak. 2-2 pitch is swung on and missed. Dropped by Parrish. They'll record the out at first base. They'll put out to Carew, and that's that. But in the inning, a run, 2 hits, 2 errors. And after 1, it's 1-0 National League. Murphy hits it into left field for a base hit. Garvey is being waved in. Infield can throw. And the throw to Parrish. He drops the ball. So Garvey is safe. Charlie Lee is the National League starting pitcher. He can only go 3, so he asked Paul Owens, the manager, who would follow Lee.
Well, right now, I would think it'll be Valenzuela, and then I'll go from there. Howard, I think he's a little more rested than the other 2, and I'm hoping that Lee can give me 3 innings, and if he can, then I've got 4 bullpenners, and I can work them in maybe to get out of an inning. But right now, I'd be leaning towards Valenzuela as my second pitcher.
So it figures to be Fernando, who wasn't even on the original 28. Charlie Lee mentioned Joaquin in that interview we had before. Joaquin being Joaquin Andujar, who has come out of his last 2 starts with a muscle problem, muscle pull, and also his grandfather was ill, so he went back to the Dominican Republic, and when his spot opened up, they put Valenzuela on. Reggie Jackson to lead off in the second inning with the National League on top, 1-0.
Reggie's playing his position right now, and that's hitter.
Yeah. You were right. What a show he put on in batting practice. Mile-high pop-up. This could be interesting with the swirl, but there's Ozzie Smith drifting and makes the catch. The National League players will have, especially the infielders, a little bit easier time, you would think, having had some experience in this ballpark.
I would think so. I'll tell you, Reggie got a lot of wood on that ball, and it was up there. In a normal park without any wood, wind, those aren't easy to catch.
But Smith made it look as routine as you possibly can under the circumstances as Brett comes up. Not a vintage Brett season at 277, but he did have surgery, knee surgery, prior to the year. Spent about the first half of the season's first half on the disabled list and takes onside, ball 1.
But a beautiful hitter, beautiful swing. Just a few years back, challenging 400, getting a lot of attention.
He doesn't have any holes, and by that I mean he hits the high pitch, the low pitch, the pitch that's in, and the pitch that's away. What you almost have to do to get him out is fool him. Get him set up looking for a breaking ball, throw the fastball. Get him looking for the fastball, throw the breaking ball, and that's not easy to do.
Great thrill for Altobelli to be back here where he managed.
Oh, absolutely. Brett hits it high in the air to deep center field. Murphy going back, and Brett hit it out. Dead center, 400 feet for George Brett to tie the game.
And neither wind, nor hail, nor sleet, nor snow, nor dark of night would have stopped that ball. Look at this swing, Earl.
High fastball, got out over the plate. We see Brett get his arms out, got everything he had behind it. 400 feet. And again, one hit like that, the wind will not bother it.
Now, that's one of the few no-doubters you will see in this park. When it left the bat, you can tell by the sound as Parrish takes outside. Another look at Murphy going all the way back.
Well, Murphy there thought he had a chance to catch it, but it was far over the fence.
2 balls and no strikes on Parrish. Howard, you're exactly right about Altobelli coming back into this ballpark. Joe was the manager of the Giants here in 77 and 78. He was the National League Manager of the Year in 78. And in 79, he was fired. Went back to the minors, then to the Yankees as a third base coach, replaced Earl in Baltimore as you look at George Brett. And now he comes back as the manager in an all-star game. What sweet revenge, though. He's the type of guy that really holds no grudges.
He has no grudges, and I'll tell you, he just feels that everything happened for the best. When you manage a world champion ball club, you can't feel bad about anything.
He wasn't on our team of the 90s, Earl, because he'll be up there in the 90s.
3 balls, 1 strike to count on Lance Parrish of the Detroit Tigers. Now it's full. There's Valenzuela in the bullpen, warming up. By the way, there is no designated hitter in the All-Star game. So you have to make your choice. Normally, the pitcher might come to bat in the 2nd inning. As Parrish goes down, as to whether you want to lift him after 2 or have him go 3. 91 miles an hour on that pitch.
That's what I was about to say.
Number 34, Chet Lemon.
Well, those were 2 excellent pitches. And I say, too, the pitch before that was a slider outside, and there we see the fastball down and in at the knees. Couldn't have been in a better spot.
So 2 down, and Chet Lemon is the batter. Gets jammed and fouls it off. 0-1.
Quite a season. 307, 12 home runs, 51 RBIs, and a man that can really go get him in center field.
And quite a young man. Represented at the Commissioner's Luncheon today, the American League All-Stars. Spoke beautifully.
Takes just outside. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Carter started to give us a speech in French. He took lessons when he started playing for Montreal.
Lemon takes up high. Chet Lemon started his career with the White Sox, came to Detroit in 82. Lifetime 281 hitter. And the 2-1 to him is looped into right center field, and that's trouble and a base hit. Big turn by Lemon, but he holds with a single, so Lemon at first with 2 down, and the pitcher, Dave Steeves. A look at the bench with Lance Parrish. Wonder who that fella is sitting next to Cal Ripken. Hank Greenberg is the honorary captain, and Ricky Henderson and Griffin and Garcia of Toronto. Dave Winfield and Thornton down the line.
You realize Hank Greenberg one year had 100 RBIs at the All-Star break, Earl, and didn't make the team?
Yes, I heard that. That seems incredible.
Somebody asked him, how is that possible? He said, well, there were some guys named Ruth, Gehrig.
Yes. Well, were the fans voting in, Howard? You know?
At the start, they were, as Bowie Kuhn pointed out in our pregame talk. That was the Arch Ward.
With the 4 teams that I managed, I never did have any qualms or regrets about who the fans chose.
What you didn't have was a succession of victories.
We lost 2 in extra innings.
But you lost.
Yes, we did. Well, we won 1.
But that's right. Earl was the only guy to win in, what, 20 games? A strike. Dave Steve.
That's Richie Henderson.
Ricky Henderson of the A's. He's the fellow who hit the fly ball that killed the Nighthawk in Milwaukee the other night. Between he and Winfield, you don't have a couple of guys. The Audubon Society, as the pickoff is made on Lemon at first base. Good move. And a quick move by Lee, who had thrown over there a couple of times. And he gets Lemon leaning the other way.
You can see that he took a step toward second base. He was going on that pitch, and Lee knew it. Definitely out.
In the inning, Brett hits a homer, 2 hits, nobody left. End of 1 1/2, a 1-1 tie at Candlestick Park. Brett hits it high in the air to deep center field. Murphy going back, and Brett hit it out. 2-1 tie, bottom of the second inning. Steve working as the starting pitcher. And we asked Joe Altobelli about whom would follow Steve.
We're going to go with Jack Morris, Howard. He's earned the right. He actually earned the right to start, but Steve just did a sensational job for the ball club last year at this time in Chicago that we thought we leaned toward him. And I really didn't know if Jack was going to pitch in Sunday's ball game or not, but he did not, so we're going to go with Morris as our second pitcher.
And now here comes young Strawberry. 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia, you weren't with us that night. He frankly admitted he was all messed up.
Got off to a good start, and then he went into a power slump, went a long time between home runs. But the Mets are flying right now.
And he's been hot the last 5 days.
Mets coming off that sweep, 5-game sweep of Cincinnati. The last thing the Mets needed was the All-Star break the way they're going.
That's what their manager, Davey Johnson, said.
But they'll pick it up again over the weekend in Atlanta. We'll have a Friday telecast for you as Strawberry fouls it away. Back out of play, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, a young fellow like this, the opposing clubs in his league get a book on him. They know where to pitch him, and they're going to do a little adjusting. It takes a second-year, third-year player intelligence and time to adjust to what they're doing to him. This guy has got potential, and he's going to be a great star.
Does the same thing apply to young pitchers?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then I got a question for you.
Don't make it too hard, Howard.
The Mets' young pitchers, that brilliant young staff, all had earned run averages in excess of 4 runs per game in the minors. How is it then that at their tender ages, in virtually their respective first years, they can stifle National League batters the way they've been doing?
Well, that's a tough one, but their control has to have had to improve from the time they were in AAA to the time that they got to the big leagues. And as a result, with the type of arms they got, the way they can throw that ball hard, good breaking pitches, when they get it over the plate, they're going to win no matter what league they're in.
2-2 pitch, got him looking, so Strawberry strikes out. That's 2 strikeouts, and they are successive for Steve, who struck Schmidt out to end the first inning. And up comes Carter.
Good hard fastball. Looked like it was going to be inside and move back.
Jack Morris of the Tigers, who's been battling an elbow ailment of late, but is back in the rotation, throwing in the bullpen. Gary Carter of Montreal. Good year. The numbers reflected there. Hits it to deep left field, and Winfield will watch this one go out of here. Sandy Carter, Gary's wife, looking on at Candlestick Park, and that one into the wind, which has died down. Gives the National League a 2-1 lead.
Well, Steve didn't like it. He got a slider up and out over the plate. And we're talking about all-stars here. When they hit the ball, they're going to go in most any park. He knew it was out.
Gary Carter hit 2 of them in the 81 game in Cleveland to win the MVP award as Ozzie Smith of the Cardinals fouls it away. 0-1.
Here we get to see it one more time. High slider above the belt. And it didn't take it long to get over that fence.
Good pitch in on Smith, and the count is 0-2.
Winfield took 1 look and didn't move. Turned 1 step, bang.
Trick here is to hit him low on a line like Carter and Brett have. You hit him too high, and the wind has a chance to play with it. But right now, it's turned out to be not a horrendous evening, and it can be at this time of day at Candlestick Park. It's breezy, but not obsessively so, as it's grounded to the right side. And Whitaker throws him out, so 2 down here in the second inning. And the crowd responds because Chili Davis of the San Francisco Giants will bat for Charlie Lee. One of 2 Giants on the National League All-Star team, so they respond. What a great thrill, not only to play in an All-Star game, but to do it in your home park. And not only that, that for Davis. Here's a guy who came up 2 years ago, had a good rookie year, and then was farmed out last season at one point. Brought back and having a good year. Switch hitter. Little looper, and that one is fielded by Brett. So on one pitch, Davis is gone. But Carter's home run here in the second inning puts the National League back on top. At the end of 2, Nationals 2, Americans 1. Hits it to deep left field, and Winfield will watch this one go out of here.
All right, Jim Palmer, and he's had 2 innings to observe what's been startling.
Well, I think that Charlie Lee did a very good job. A lot of times when you have too much rest, and he was pitching on 6 days, you have a tendency to be wild. He threw strikes. He only made 1 bad pitch, and Brett deposited over the center field. But and Steve made another bad pitch, and Carter. And as Earl said, when you make a mistake, the good hitters sometimes they lose them, and both Carter and Brett hit the ball awfully well.
Isn't it a tip-off when a team leads off a game, as Whitaker did for the American League with a double, and they can't even advance him to third?
Well, that's cardinal baseball rules. You want to get that guy to third base, and maybe you'll get another cheap run, but it didn't happen, and we still got a very close game.
Back to the game, Al Michaels. Thanks, Jim.
All right, Howard, Fernando Valenzuela of the Dodgers comes out of the bullpen to work in the 3rd inning. It also means that the American League will, here in the 3rd, go to the bench as well. Dave Steve had been up. He was batting in the 2nd inning when Lemon got picked off. But now as we go to the 3rd, Andre Thornton, the sole representative from the Cleveland Indians. And each team, by the way, if you don't know, has to be represented by at least 1 player. Thornton, batting .290 this year, goes after the first pitch and grounds it into center field for a single. 4 hits now for the American League as Andre is aboard. And to the top of the order, and Lou Whitaker.
Lou Whitaker, second base.
So a ground single right back up the middle after Charlie Lee had gone 2. National League on top 2-1. And Whitaker, the batter, with Schmidt in on the grass at third base. Whitaker up there to swing away, takes low for ball 1. A look at the defensive alignment. Thornton being held on at first. And it's grounded by Garvey, who couldn't backhand it. And into right field for a base hit. Thornton is on his way to third, and the throw is not in time on a pretty close play. Ozzie Smith did a nice job decoying that time to keep Whitaker from rounding first and going into second.
We get to see it from high above. The ball was hit hard, and Garvey didn't have much of a chance. But we get to see right here as Strawberry fields this ball, the strength of that throwing arm. Made that play close when he had no chance to make it close.
So runners at first and third now for the American League, and Carew is the batter. Schmidt up at third with Smith and Sandberg looking for the double play. Ball 1, 1-0. 3-2 pitch is just foul tip out of Carter's glove.
Well, I don't know if that was an attempted delayed steal. Certainly wouldn't have the hit and run on in this situation. He barely gets a piece of this. But Lou Whitaker at first base, it started very, very late.
And again, the 3-2 pitch, Whitaker not going. Carew hits a chopper to Garvey, records the out at first and throws home, and they get the double play. Steve Garvey got the out at first and then is able to throw home for a double play.
The ball wasn't hit hard. Carew bounces it on one high hop to first base. Garvey heads up play, knew he had time to step on the bag, took his time, made a good throw to home plate. Double play.
And another look as Thornton comes in, and Carter comes right down with the tag and does a nice job of trying to take the plate away from him.
Here we'll get it at another angle. Still we don't see Thornton. Must have got a bad jump.
He did.
or was indecisive, or didn't listen to the coach. Whatever.
Cal Ripken is the batter. Off-speed pitch, swing and a miss.
In a situation like that, you can't stay at third base because they'll get the double play the other way. He'll step on first, throw to second, and the runner has to make his break so that the throw should be home. Garvey just made a heads-up play by stepping on first base and then going home.
He has a way of doing that, has had for many years, especially in all-star games.
That's why he gets all the votes.
In the meantime, Garvey, who started where many thought Murray should have, is doing very well. Carew, who started where many thought Hernandez should have. Carew started where many thought Murray should have, and Carew is in trouble. After a lead-off double, couldn't advance the runner, and men on first and third, none out, and hit into the double play.
Well, that's not the real Rod Carew.
Ripken hits a bouncer to the left side. Nice stop by Schmidt. Throws to first and gets it. Mike Schmidt can still do it defensively. No runs, a couple of hits after a promising start, and a man left on. Big double play turned in by Garvey. Another look at Schmidt, ranging far to his left, and we'll be going to the bottom of the third with the National League on top, 2-1. And again, the 3-2 pitch. Whitaker not going. Carew hits a chopper to Garvey, records the out at first and throws home, and they get the double play. Steve Garvey got the out at first and then is able to throw home for a double play. Looking down at Candlestick Park, home of the Giants, home of the 49ers as well. Tonight, the All-Star Game. And this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Bud Light. The best has a taste all its own, satisfying but never filling. A look down from, what? The Goodyear Blimp Columbia. Is that an info? All right. Chet Forty had me a little worried. I thought the winds had gotten a little out of hand at Candlestick for the moment. A reminder, Wide World of Sports Saturday. Junior middleweight fight, Wilfred Benitez against Davey Moore at 5 Eastern and 4 Central on Wide World this Saturday afternoon. Jack Morris, who pitched a no-hitter this season against the Chicago White Sox. In to pitch. As we go to the bottom of the third inning, the National League on top 2-1, and the top of the order with Tony Gwynn, league's leading hitter from San Diego, leading off. Morris throws it all the way to the screen.
Morris is another pitcher that throws the ball over 90 miles an hour and has a very good slider. Got off to a great start. He's 12-5. Early in the year, people were talking about him winning 30, but he came up with a little arm problems and was out of the rotation once or twice, but's feeling fine now.
Sparky hopes anyway. 2-0. He didn't look particularly good in his last outing. American League comes in with a very well-rested staff. 2-0 pitch. Scribber foul, and the count is 2-1. Look down the National League bench with Steve Garvey and Gary Carter, Mike Schmidt, Timmy Raines, and Mike Marshall of the Dodgers, and Tim Wallach, and the All-Star Game. It's one of a kind. 2 Hall of Famers, some future Hall of Famers, as we've panned down the line at both benches. In fact, 14 of the players in the 1961 game have made it to the Hall of Fame. Scoring summary: National League getting a run in the first as Gwynn fouls it away. American League tied it on Brett's second inning homer, and then Gary Carter promptly untied it.
That's the other element, though, that scoring summary in the first inning there that Jim and I didn't get a chance to talk about. The error by Reggie, and then the error at home.
As Gwynn goes down on strikes.
So the American League right now is trailing, A, because they didn't take advantage of opportunities, and because they played loosely in the field. The pitch again.
The pitch was a little off-speed slider, broke down and in. Gwynn got out in front. 1 out.
That's that little split-fingered fastball, forkball, whatever you want to call it, that Roger Craig has everybody in Detroit throwing. Ryne Sandberg takes a strike.
Big fastball, throw it that way with the fingers split. It comes in not at 90 miles an hour, which Jack can throw, but at 70 to 75.
And it's got to be a real effective pitch because he does throw hard.
1-2 to Sandberg is outside. It's funny, the National League has 4 fellas in the starting lineup tonight making their first appearance in an All-Star game, including Sandberg, while all 9 of the American leaguers have been in All-Star games before. That's a chopper off the plate. Going to be a tough play for Carew. Can't make the tag. As Sandberg, who can run, beats it out. Hit it right off the plate.
That is what's known as the Baltimore chop in baseball. Good pitch. He got on top of it. You're helpless on a ball like this. There's nothing you can do. Just wait for it to come down. He has to stay inside the 45-foot line. That's that double line, the line right outside the foul line. If he goes out of that, he can be called out for running out of the baseline if he's avoiding the tag. Of course, if the ball's hit into left field, you're allowed to circle to get yourself in position to run to second.
That's reminiscent of some of those Dodger ping-pong hits that drove the Yankees crazy in the World Series at Dodger Stadium the last time those 2 teams met in the series.
1981. Garvey hits a chopper that Rodriguez gloves, comes up throwing, but pulls Watson off. Garvey had it beaten anyway. So a chopping infield single for Garvey, and the Dodgers have the leadoff man on base here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
That was an interesting hit.
Strike to Garvey.
Sandberg with 15 stolen bases. There's a chance that he'll be running in this situation.
Sandberg at first base, 1 out. 3rd inning, National League on top, 2-1. And there he goes. Garvey is swinging a miss. Parrish's throw is right there, but the jump was too good. And it's a stolen base.
He outran that ball.
He certainly did.
Good jump. He had a big lead. Takes his peek to see what the hitter's going to do. Parrish got rid of it, made a good throw, just the least bit high. If it had been down, they'd have had him out.
Think so?
I think if it would have been right on the bag, but the catcher's not going to make that many right on the bag.
Garvey hits it to deep left field, though, too, but it's a liner that's caught by Winfield near the track. And Sandberg gets back. 2 away now here in the 3rd inning. Fernando Valenzuela, who got us in trouble in the top of the inning, but was able to work out, thanks in good measure to his ex-teammate Garvey, who started a nice double play.
Fernando looks composed.
Much more svelte this season. His record isn't particularly impressive, but he's been pitching a lot better than the numbers would indicate. Murphy. Little chopper, foul. Crowd responds to Tommy Lasorda making the play. Lasorda back, well, that's where he used to be in the minor leagues when he was managing the Dodgers Spokane AAA affiliate.
Yeah, what he said last night? I always thought the good Lord put me on earth to steal pennants, but now I'm not so sure.
Well, they're not that far out. With the injuries he's had, they're in pretty good position for the second half.
Dodgers are a resourceful team. What's amazing, Earl, is that other teams have bad years and they're gone. The Dodgers seem to have a bad year, and they're 4.5, 5 back, so they're still in the race.
That's exactly right.
1 ball, 1 strike on Murphy. Low, ball 2.
And they're not in the American League West either. And by that I mean there's only 8 games top to bottom. Anybody has a chance there the second half.
White Sox have gotten hot. And they lead at the break. Sandberg at second with 2 down. And Murphy takes a strike. Murphy loves this ballpark, by the way. He's had great success here against the Giants.
That's ripped to right center field. No one's going to get it. It is gone. Home run. Murphy goes to right center. The ball game is tied up, and the Braves are so confident of their ability to come back.
Murphy has hit 12 homers in this park, more than any other man on the All-Star team. 3-2. And Murphy is aboard. So runners at first and second with 2 down. And it brings up Mike Schmidt. We'll probably see some wholesale changes at the end of this inning. Again, one of the rules is the starters, unless they're injured, outside of the pitcher, have to play at least 3.
Well, that's the mark of a good hitter. First base was open. You know that the pitcher's trying to make that perfect pitch on you. If it's not in the strike zone, take that base on balls and bring up a person like Schmidt, who can really break the game open now.
Foul away. 0-1. He got jammed. It's a one-hopper back to Morris, and that's the end of the National League threat. No runs ahead. They leave a couple. End of 3. National League 2, American League 1.
Earl Strawberry and the division-leading Mets take on Dale Murphy and Atlanta. Or Milwaukee battles Reggie Jackson and the charging California Angels on a Friday night baseball special.
Well, Charlie Lee, now that it's all over, how do you feel?
I feel relaxed now for the first time in a while. My heart's still beating a little bit, and I tell you, I was nervous out there. I was glad to get my 2 innings over with and come in here and get something to drink, get my arms some ice and relax.
What'd you think about Brett?
Well, I thought he crushed the baseball. He's such a good hitter, and I got behind him with 2 breaking balls right off the bat, and he was looking fastball, and that's what I wanted to come in with, and I got it over the plate, and he got every bit of it.
Would this be the highlight of your career?
Well, I don't know. It's got to be one of the highlights. No hitter was a big deal to me, but starting the All-Star game the first time here, I was so excited and such a big thrill. I'd have to rate it right up there at the top.
The mood in the National League dressing room.
We want to win the baseball game. We wanted to go out there and start a streak, get on the win column again, and get things going. And we did early in the game. We got a couple of runs in the first couple of innings, and kind of the guys on the bench are real pumped up. And looks like we're doing the job.
Good luck the second half.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it.
Al?
All right, Winder, as we go to the 4th inning, National League on top 2-1. And Dave Winfield to lead things off. Winfield grounded out in the first inning. Dave trying to hit the 3rd home run of the night. Fernando Valenzuela.
Playing golf.
Well, Dwight Gooden, the 19-year-old, he is the youngest man ever named to an All-Star team. And he'll be the youngest man to ever play in this game if he gets in, and he's in the bullpen right now. Leads the majors in strikeouts. No balls, 2 strikes to count on Winfield. Outside. Occasionally you'll see that center field shot going back and forth a little bit. That wind will pick up. Now and again, big strong gust.
Al, if you remember the 81 series, Winfield was shackled.
2-2 the count. From the flip, here comes the 5, beginning to roll in over Baghdad by the Bay.
Well, what a beautiful city. They can open that Golden Gate any time.
You'll be right here, huh?
You know, the first time 3 screwballs he got him with, right? Chased him right in the dirt. But the first time I saw that fog roll in over in Oakland, Alameda County Stadium, I thought it was rain. Here we get a good shot of the screwballs. Down, down, down. Winfield chased it right in the dirt.
So he got Dave to chase it, and up comes Reggie Jackson.
Getting back to the story, when I saw that fog rolling in, I thought it was rain clouds, and I tried to speed the game up till Judge Bamberger, my old pitching coach, says, don't get excited. That those aren't rain clouds.
Could see some fog in the ballpark before this one is done as it begins to drift in from the Pacific. Reggie grounds it foul into the National League pen, and it's Tony Pena, the Pirate catcher, coming up with it.
Never seen Reggie looser, happier than during this trip here for this game. Meant so much to him. Fighting, being 38, hitting 190 over the last month. He's brought it up to 247, and he's rolling.
And he really worked hard in the 2 workouts that they had here.
You see those 4 in a row he hit in batting practice, putting on that show?
He got quite a hand for them.
And down he goes here, so Valenzuela has made Winfield Winfield and Jackson look about as bad as you'll ever see Dave and Reggie look back-to-back.
Well, again, he's using that screwball to the left-handed hitters. He's not letting them take it away.
From the Kansas City Royals, George Brett.
So now let's see about Brett, what George has learned from watching Winfield and Jackson. What Charlie Lee learned in the second inning was that Brett can drill one over the wall in center.
Don't fall behind him, 2-0, and throw him the fastball. That's what Charlie told the Twin D.
Fastball for a strike. Then we'll look back now, second inning, just a screamer to center.
You know, what makes Brett is such a good hitter against his screwball, he might shorten his stroke. You notice he stayed off of that. He's probably not thinking home run at all, where Winfield and Jackson were.
1 ball, 1 strike the count. National League on top, 2-1 with 2 out and the bases empty in the 4th inning. Good breaking pitch, 1-2. Seen a lot of Cub hats these days everywhere.
They've really come out of the woodwork, haven't they?
Cubs, Tigers, Mets caps re-emerging. Winfield on a screwball, Jackson on a screwball, Brett on a fastball. Strikes out the side, it's still 2-1.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Changes now begin for the American League. Eddie Murray, having another great year, replaces Ron Carew, who went 0 for 2 tonight. Ricky Henderson comes into Candlestick from across the bay. The A's left fielder takes over there. Murray will bat second, and Henderson will bat fifth. Reggie Jackson has come out of the game in right field, and Dave Winfield has stayed in, moving from left to right. So Jackson and Carew are out. Henderson and Murray are in. Bottom of the 4th inning, and Willie McCovey will be coaching at first base. He's the honorary National League captain. Hank Greenberg, the honorary American League team captain, has decided to stay in the dugout. Can't blame him. Night game in Candlestick, but McCovey's out on the lines at first as Strawberry rips it into right field for a base hit. So Darrell, who struck out in the second inning, lines a single to right. Willie Mack, number 44. Probably the most popular player to ever wear the San Francisco Giants uniform. Came up with the team in '59, 2 singles, 2 triples in his first game, and really never cooled off.
No, but the terrible disappointment, that shot to end the 60, what was it, 2 series?
62 World Series.
I was just going to say, that ball was hit about as hard as a ball could be hit.
Right to Bobby Richards.
Gardner pops it up a mile high, and the breeze is blowing, but Brett is there, and after a little drift, not much problem. Here was the home run earlier that Carter had hit, a line into left field, and that at the moment is the difference in the game. That came in the second inning.
He had just as much wood on that ball as he did the home run, only that one went straight up and the place is straight out.
Ozzie Smith, the batter. Howard, you're right, 62 World Series. Richardson makes the catch of that line drive. Otherwise, the Giants win the World Series. It came with 2 out, 2 on in the ninth. There goes Strawberry as Smith pops it in the air and foul ground. Brett might have a play and makes the catch in front of the auxiliary box. That's a very fine play for a guy who has not played in this ballpark.
Well, it's a real good play. He was bothered by the fence, but he's a real good player. Get to see it from high above here. We'll get to see just how close he got to the fence. He'll take a little look at the fence right here and reaches out at the last minute. Chance that it would have blown in there.
So Brett has stayed with a couple of pops, and Jerry Mumphrey of the Astros will pinch hit for Valenzuela.
He has really gotten hot in recent weeks. Was an unhappy ball player with the Yankees, getting a full shot with Houston, back into his National League form before he ever joined the Yankees in the first place.
He was a good player in the American League.
Taking low.
He was?
I thought he was.
At times. Friday night, 2 games for you. Check your local listings. Mets in Atlanta, Brewers at California. Special edition of ABC Baseball Friday night, beginning at 8 Eastern time. Strawberry at first base with 2 down. Strike on the inside corner. And it's 1-1.
I think there was always somebody at the Yankees just always getting a little more recognition than Mumphrey did.
That 81 series turned the day they benched Mumphrey and put in Bobby Brown in center field.
I agree with you.
Jack Morris has his bullpen mate here as well, Willie Hernandez. American League, by the way, with an all right-handed staff outside of Hernandez. Runner goes, and it's in the dirt and goes to the backstop, and Strawberry will have to stop at second base as the ball skitters past the screen.
Strawberry, with those legs, has a stride not unlike Winfield's in terms of ground covered and single strides.
Yes, he can run. But there we got a good look at that pitch. It bounced in front of the plate. Definitely, I would call it a wild pitch. And it's a ground rule. If the ball goes out of play from the pitcher's mound, it's 1 base.
So they hold him at second. It's scored as a wild pitch. The count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. And down he goes on a good fastball. If that elbow's bothering Morris, you'd never know it. Looks good tonight. Going hard. No runs and a hit. The man left on. We'll go to the 5th. The National League on top. 2-1 in San Francisco.
The New York Mets can no longer be written off. A major reason why? Dwight Gooden. The 19-year-old rookie struck out 5 straight Pirates and 6 overall to go 5-3 and tie for the major league lead in strikeouts with 93. It was the 2nd time Gooden struck out 5 straight and the 7th time that he struck out the side in 1 inning.
Dwight Gooden has been able to handle any situation that we've thrown in front of him up to this particular point. Everything from the big crowds to the big game to opposing the #1 pitcher on the other staff. And these are all things that you look for to see how a young pitcher is going to measure in the long run.
4 innings, 2-1 National, the 2 keys to their lead.
Well, of course, the key to the American League is the great throw that Dave Winfield made that Lance Parrish wasn't able to hold on to, and then the great pitch Fernando Valenzuela made it 3-2 to Rod Carew. High hopper to Garvey, made a great play to home, and that's the difference between the American League probably being ahead at this moment.
Up to this point, who's impressed you the most, if you had to pick an individual?
I think Gary Carter. He made a great play on the throw from Garvey and also hit that home run, and I think we're in for a treat to watch Dwight Gooden pitch here.
All right, we're about ready to go back to Mr. Al Michaels. Al?
All right, Howard, and Claudell Washington is a change for the National League. He's now played in the All-Star game in both leagues, and Dwight Gooden takes over on the mound. So he becomes the youngest man ever to play in the All-Star game, 19, 2 years out of high school. One of the brilliant young Met pitchers, leads the majors in strikeouts at the All-Star break, and Richard Dotson, who's having a sensational year with the White Sox, is warming up in the American League bullpen. So Gooden hits 9th. Washington comes into the game replacing Strawberry, and he hits in the #6 spot. 2-1 National League on top with Lance Parrish of the Tigers taking outside. Ball 1. 1-0. The Kong is Dave Kingman. Dave Kingman, I think, has played in every park in America at one time, hasn't he?
23 homers.
And not on the team, but Joe Altobelli was saying he really had a choice, as it turned out, between Kingman and Ricky Henderson, and Henderson can do more things.
And the way he explained it makes all the sense in the world, despite the discomfiture and disappointment of a number of fans in this area. Kingman has behaved very well this year, and he has hit.
Kingman was with the Giants at the outset of his career. In fact, one year they tried him at third base, and nobody would buy a seat back of first.
Well, you know, if you take Kingman, you're creating another designated hitter situation.
That's fouled away, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
That situation you described when they had Dave at third, obtained in Cleveland in the 50s when Al Rosen was playing third. They wanted to put a screen up in front of the fans.
Danger zone. 2-2 pitch to Parrish. Got him swinging. So Dwight Gooden, leading the bigs in strikeouts, strikes Parrish out on a 91-mile-an-hour pitch.
High fastball up out of the strike zone.
Center field.
We've got some anxious hitters right now in the American League Club.
This Gooden is amazing.
Well, you're definitely not going to hit pitchers like this unless you make them throw the ball over the plate.
Batter is Chet Lemon of the Tigers. Strike. 0-1. Last 4 American leaguers have struck out. Valenzuela struck out the side. Gooden has struck out Parrish. And those two are 1-2 in strikeouts in the National League. 0-2.
Well, we have had 4 strikeouts consecutively. 3 by Valenzuela last inning, now 1 by Gooden, and the memories go back to 34 and the Hub,
who was here tonight to throw out along with Stu Miller the first ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count.
You look at the 3 guys struck out by Nando, they're possible future Hall of Famers.
Right. Got Winfield, Jackson, and Brett. And Lee Wire looked like he was about ready to come up with that right arm, didn't he?
Yes, he did. They have no chance on this pitch. Good breaking ball on the outside half of the plate. Had to call it for high as it crossed the plate, not in the catcher's glove.
And he strikes him out. So the last 5 American leaguers have gone down on strikes. Good with 133 strikeouts in 111 innings this season.
19 years old. A year ago, if you remember, and you know that league, Earl, he was in the Carolina League All-Star game.
I played in that league in 1950, and thank goodness he wasn't there then.
Yeah, you peaked out there.
After a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Here's a good little matchup. Dwight Gooden at 19 against the kid who started the season not even on the Seattle roster, Al Davis. And here he is in the All-Star game as the sole Mariners representative. Having a great rookie year. Looks at a strike. 0-1 the count. Alvin Davis out of Arizona State University. Had a chance to play when Ken Phelps got hurt early. And he hasn't been out of the lineup since. As the Mariners try to hang in there in the West.
You watch this kid pitch, Earl. It must be amazing, even to you as a great manager who had so many great ones, including Jim with us in the booth. The poise, maturity, sense of presence out there.
So much poise and such outstanding rhythm he has. Drives right through. Comes right down at the hitter.
Count is 1-2, so he's a strike away from making it 6 straight strikeouts for Valenzuela and Gooden. 2-1 National League on top. 2 out, bases empty. We're in the 5th inning at Candlestick Park. And the crowd wants the strikeout. Sounds like Shea now. Whoa. Appeal? No. Don't get the call at third.
Close.
Very close.
Close to being a strike. Let her high.
Derwood Merrill, the umpire at third, said no. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Al Davis of Seattle. And Gooden strikes out the side. Dwight Gooden, 2 years out of high school, 2 years ago in Tampa, Florida, and at the age of 19 comes into the All-Star game and strikes out the side. At the end of 4 1/2 at Candlestick, still the National League 2 and the American League 1. Last 4 American leaguers have struck out. Valenzuela struck out the side. Gooden has struck out Parrish. And those two are 1-2 in strikeouts in the National League. 0-2. And he strikes them out. So the last 5 American leaguers have gone down on strikes. And Gooden strikes out the side.
At home in the Polo Grounds, Giant left-hander Carl Hubbell let the first 2 batters reach base in the 1934 All-Star Game. Up next was a trio as formidable as any ever assembled in a baseball lineup. Ruth, Gehrig, and Fox. Hubbell struck all 3 out.
He strikes out Babe Ruth. What I tried to do was to strike Ruth out. He's the only one I was really trying to strike out.
And when he returned to the mound in the second, Hubbell fanned the next 2 hitters, Al Simmons and Joe Cronin, making it 5 future Hall of Famers in all.
Bottom of the 5th inning, new battery, Jim Sundberg, who was traded from Texas to Milwaukee during the offseason, comes into the game back of the plate, and Richard Dotson, who had a tremendous second half in 1983, and he's followed that up with a great first half in 84. Some people thought he might even be the starting pitcher tonight. Comes out of the bullpen in the 5th. Let's go down to Don Drysdale.
Al, Dave, Steve, has to be quite an honor to go out there and start 2 All-Star games.
Oh, yeah, it is. This one was quite a surprise to me. I was hoping I could do as well as last year, but I made some bad pitches on a couple sliders, and it cost me.
What about pitching in Candlestick? Your first time here?
Yes, it is. It was quite windy out there, but I don't feel it had any effect on my pitches. My fastball was good. I felt I was throwing that where I wanted it to, and like I said, I just made a couple of bad pitches with the sliders.
Especially the one to Murphy, 0-2.
Well, no, that was a good one, I thought. He just went out there and got it. He did his job. The bad one was to Garvey, and the bad one to Carter.
Okay, Dave, congratulations. Good luck the second half.
All right, thank you.
Al?
All right, Don. Hey, by the way, we want to congratulate our colleague, Don Drysdale.
August 12th.
You bet. A little bit more than a month from now, Big D will be in the Hall of Fame.
Officially. With the little number 1, Harold Pee Wee Reese.
Yes, who's also here as well tonight. As we start the bottom of the 5th inning, Dotson on the mound, and Tony Gwynn looks at a strike.
They had a lovely day at Dodger Stadium.
Recently for Don and Pee Wee, retiring 53-1. There he is, the twin D right there.
Never threw at a batter.
He pitched in 8 All-Star games. He still holds the record for most innings pitched by any pitcher in All-Star competition as Gwynn hits a base hit into left field. Tony Gwynn with a single. Against the right field fence are discs. Bill Terry, number 3, and as we move to the right, Mel Ott wore number 4. Carl Hubbell was number 11. Willie Mays was number 24. Juan Marichal wore 27. And Willie McCovey, 44. All of those numbers retired by the Giants. Their place of honor along the right field fence here at Candlestick Park.
You look at 24, and you're really sorry about the hubbub.
Sandberg fouls it away.
Trying to go to right field, obviously.
It was a hit and run, but what a jump Tony Gwynn had at first base. He's stolen 20 bases this year, so it's definitely a run situation. And Dotson's going to have to watch him a little bit.
You've got perfect people to execute. As we said at the start, Al, National League, it seemed to me, had the edge in pitching and speed on the bases.
Well, they certainly had the edge in pitching in the last 2 innings. As the American League has faced Valenzuela and Gooden.
But it's only the 5th inning.
0-1 pitch is pop foul. That one will drift back out of play. And the count is 0-2.
And they still have Orozco and Gossage. And Suda, for that matter.
Tough to come back, isn't it?
A little bit. That's why you can't blow the opportunities they've blown.
Yeah, there are the bullpen. Suter of the Cardinals, and Al Holland is also there.
Suda, we left out Holland. Suda.
Mario Soto is also down there. As Gwynn goes, another great jump, and Sundberg has no chance. So again, it's Gwynn who has 20 steals during the regular year at second base.
Definitely no chance to throw him out on that pitch. He was off and running right away. Sundberg tried to hurry, made a low throw. Ripken makes a nice play coming up with the ball.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Sandberg. Little chopper to the right side. He'll be able to move the runner along as Whitaker throws over to Murray for the out. And Quinn is now at third with 1 away. And the batter will be Steve Garvey of San Diego.
Well, that was quite an at-bat. Sandberg, from 1 pitch on, was trying to take advantage of the hole with the first baseman holding him on. When he finally got to second base on the stolen base, he did exactly what he had to do, hit the ball.
He moved him over.
Hit the ball on the ground to the right side.
Just what Rod didn't do in the first inning.
Richard Dotson, part of that great White Sox staff. And that team has gotten hot over the past week, and that's all it took in the American West. Pitching to Garvey with the infield in. The American League down by 1, so he'll have to try to cut off the run at the plate.
Well, Tabelli knows that pitching staff. He don't want to give up any if he don't have to.
1-0 to Garvey. Little grounder to the right side. The runner will have to hold as Whitaker throws out Steve, and so Quinn is still at third. Garvey can't get the RBI, and it will be up to Murphy. Murphy with a single and a walk. Leads the National League in home runs at the break with 20.
Every time I'm in a ballpark, along with Dale Murphy, he has a good day.
0-1. Joe Altobelli. Second year at the helm in Baltimore. Long-time minor league manager. Finally got his break with the Giants in '77. That lasted almost 3 full seasons. To right center field. He loves to go that way, but not deep enough this time as Dave Winfield hauls it in. And that's that. No runs ahead and a man left on. Into 5, still 2-1 National League. We'll return to San Francisco after this from our local stations.
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it! I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Good seats, eh, buddy? He missed the tag! He missed the tag!
Reggie Jackson, your 14th All-Star game, I would have to think maybe this is a special one.
Well, it is for me, Don. Last year was just a horror story for me, really, and I'm 38 years old, and I'm not going to play very much longer, maybe another year or two, and just to be here is a thrill for me.
The air in right field, a lot of people don't realize what that insignia out there might have done.
Well, I may have booted it anyway, to be honest with you, but the ball went across all the color in the insignia, and I was really fortunate the ball didn't go through my legs, but it just hit something on my body because I really never saw it.
What about seeing, when you're talking about you didn't see that ball, what about at home plate with the shadow?
Well, it's tough to hit right now. Hopefully, when it gets a little bit darker, you may see some scoring done, but I think it's going to be tough on the hitters right now. I remember when Dave Winfield was hitting in front of me, a guy hitting 370, did not swing the bat good at Fernando Valenzuela, and I said, uh-oh, it must be tough to see.
Reggie, good luck the second half.
Thanks.
Al?
All right, Don, as we start the 6th inning, Lou Whitaker is the batter and changes for the National League. Keith Hernandez of the Mets, who grew up in this area. Special night for him at first, and Tim Raines of the Expos takes over for Tony Gwynn in left field. Ball 2 now. 2-0, the count on Whitaker, who has doubled and singled tonight.
Try to throw Tim Raines out. Told you, Reggie's never been looser. He's thrilled to be here.
Whitaker hits a little chopper to the right side. At least they've hit a fair ball after 6 straight strikeouts. Little sliver, and Whitaker is gone. 1 out. Now, interestingly, in All-Star history, in 54 games, only 4 times have pitchers struck out the only batters they faced. In an inning, Sane, Bobby Shantz, Gene Conley, who played basketball as well as baseball, Jerry Royce, and then Valenzuela and Gooden doing it tonight.
Spawn and Sane and pray for rain.
Eddie Murray, 72 runs batted in at the halfway mark of the season. Hits it high in the air to left center field. This will be an adventure. Ozzie Smith and Raines, and Smith
first place. Somebody wrote a tongue-in-cheek column out here asking Bowie Kuhn to move the site of the game to Oakland. Very simply, the game is played here because it's the Giants' turn.
Yes, it is. And there was a tough play. Ozzie Smith went way out. Raines evidently went back his first few steps. But still, with the wind swirling like that, two players going all out to get it. There's big chance for injury on something like that. Yet they gave it their all in what some people call an exhibition game.
Yeah. Not too many balls that hit the left center or right center like that are caught here. Ripken is the batter. Takes a strike, and the count is 0-1.
You like the location of that pitch, my friend?
Yes.
Murray tying run at second. And it's outside. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Well, Ron Carew is a great camera buff. So he's out of the game in one sense, but still in it in another. As he looks out from the dugout, 1 ball and 1 strike the count.
Well, he had 2 opportunities in this game. He didn't come through in either one of them, so I know he's sitting there rooting for his teammates, along with having fun.
That happens. One of the most remarkable careers, as Al has noted, in the history of Major League Baseball. Al first spotted him in those early kid days at Panama City.
Right. 1-2. In the bullpen, Bruce Sutter, Mario Soto.
Earl Weaver has said the finest pitcher on either roster in this game is Mario Soto. What do you mean?
Well, I just think he's got good stuff. He's been around long enough to know what's happening, and sometimes when he goes on that mound, it's like a man against some boys. He can throw.
Off-speed pitch, grounded to third, backhanded by Schmidt. Strong throw to Hernandez gets him, and Murray is still at second. Threw away, and Dave Winfield of the Yankees has grounded out, struck out. He'll come up.
From the rooftop again, out on the front foot. Takes his time, and a good throw across the infield.
Dave Winfield, not only leading the American League in hitting, and look at that, the contrast there, 275 and then 464 in his last 33 games. And he's the leading hitter in the American League by 35 points. Ken Herbeck, who is not on the All-Star team, is second. There's a chopper, hit foul. 0-1. Now look at that. Alcatraz in the foreground there. You can see the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge immersed in the fog, the Pacific in the background, Marin County on the right, on the left is the city of San Francisco.
As you can see, Mr. Michaels is a resident of the area.
Yeah, except I live 30 miles south where I'd be home with a tank top right now. It's a little chillier in the city.
This is the first time you've seen Gooden now?
Yes, he is, and he's quite impressive. Good variety of pitches. And the poise that you talked about earlier. He'll win a lot of games in the major leagues.
If he doesn't, you'll have a scoop.
And the payoff pitch is hit in the air to left field, but it will stay in. In fact, Raines comes in a couple of steps, makes the catch. No runs, double by Murray. Strand him at second, middle of the 6th inning. Still 2-1, National League. Going to the bottom of the 6th inning, the American League on top 2-1. Earl Weaver managed 4 All-Star games, won it in fact in 1971. If you're out the belly right now, your team is losing, but you do want to get as many guys into the game as possible. What's the #1 factor right now if you're out the belly?
Well, it's still winning. You want to win that game as much as you possibly can, but you can't hurt those players' feelings. They've worked to get here, and they want to get in the game. But he's got some power there, Armisen Rice, that he might come in and do a little damage.
So what would you do? I mean, would you try to get everybody into the game if you were in the dugout right now?
I definitely would. As many people as I could without injuring myself.
I agree with you. I think that's the most important thing. The fans want to see the players. It almost seems as if winning or losing becomes irrelevant after a while.
Al, I've sent players home who didn't get in the game, and what I really had to do was apologize to them. I felt so badly after the ball game because they hadn't played. Some resent the fact that they don't play. Others say, well, Skip, there's nothing you can do about it, and they understand.
All right, so Alfredo Griffin takes over at shortstop. And Damaso Garcia is the second baseman as the Toronto double play combination comes into the game here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Great story about Alfredo Griffin and how he winds up on the team as Mike Schmidt leads off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2-1 the National on top as Schmidt takes inside. Alan Trammell was going to be on the team, but he hurt himself Sunday night. Tigers played a Sunday night game in Texas. And Griffin had come out to the West Coast with Garcia. You're allowed to bring a friend or your wife or girlfriend or whatever with you to the All-Star game. So Griffin comes out with Garcia. Of course, the Blue Jays will begin post-All-Star play across the bay in Oakland anyway. So he happened to be in town. And the next thing you know, he's on the All-Star team. Replacing Trammell on the roster, and here he is in the game. Phil Niekro in the American League bullpen, and Mike Boddicker. And Dave Engel, the Minnesota catcher. Willie Hernandez, the Quiz. And Bill Caudle of the Oakland A's in the bullpen as Mike Schmidt swings and misses in the count 2-2. Down he goes. Good fastball. 92 miles an hour.
And he pitched him well. He was on the outside half of the plate to get the 2 strikes. Then came in with that fastball. Had Schmidt leaning out a little bit. You see it right here.
One away, and Claudell Washington of the Atlanta Braves comes up for the first time in the game. Little irony here, he and Mario Soto are teammates for a night. As he hits it down the left field line, it's a fair ball and into the bullpen. He should wind up with 2 as Henderson comes up with it, and Washington has a double. Washington and Soto were embroiled in that fight in Atlanta recently that led to the suspension of both.
Although we get to see it from the roof, probably 3-4 feet fair. Nothing Henderson can do. He's got to wait for it to come out of the bullpen.
So a double for him. He's at second, and Gary Carter comes up. Home run in the 2nd inning is the difference in the game. Carter, 60 RBIs at the break to lead the National League. The way Gary's going, he's got a leg up on maybe winning an MVP award in this game again. He won it in 1981 with 2 homers. There it is, bottom of the screen.
Tell you one thing, you see the name Archie Vaughan. He absolutely belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and isn't that? There was a year he challenged 400 very seriously when he was with the Bucks.
He was one of my heroes when I was growing up, Art.
Always dreamed of hitting like him.
2-0 pitch to Gary Carter is outside. Ball 3-0. Washington at second base with 1 out in the 6th inning. 2 runs, 7 hits, and no errors for the National League. 1 run, 6 hits, and 2 errors for the American League. And Carter is on. That's the first, I think it's the 2nd walk given up by the American League tonight. And those are the only walks in the game. As you look at Sparky Anderson, the Tiger manager, one of Altobelli's coaches. And Ozzie Smith coming up. 1 out, runners at first and second. You know what I thought the most interesting reaction tonight was, Howard, when they introduced all the players? The tremendous hand given to Phil Niekro. It's if everyone in middle-aged America.
That's right. He's inspired that kind of feeling all over.
He's another one of my heroes, yes, sir.
He's becoming one of mine. Smith swings and misses, 0-1. There he is, Nuxie, as they call him. The gray-haired wonder. Given up on by the Braves.
Thoughtful man, expressive man.
Great hand tonight during the introduction. 0-1 pitch to Smith is a strike, and the count is 0-2. 2-2. He punches that one on the ground. It's short. It's Griffin to Garcia, and then Garcia does get the out, but no throw to first base. And holding at third is Washington, but the out is recorded at second base. What's funny is you see these All-Stars come together and turn DPs beautifully, and here's a combination from the same team, and they had going through the problem.
Well, this ball wasn't hit that hard, and they might have had trouble getting 2 on it anyway. Griffin comes up with it. It's a good throw. Takes a little bit too much time there. Garcia couldn't get it out of his glove. But Smith was running down that first baseline, and I personally feel that they wouldn't have got 2 anyway. The runner was not close enough to bother him. He just had trouble getting it out of his glove.
Meanwhile, the big crowd reaction is because one of the Giants comes up. Bob Brenly, the San Francisco catcher.
You believe the way this guy has shot into prominence?
No, I don't think he does either, especially offensively, what he's been doing, hitting .316. Good guy, too. And one of the few bright spots in an otherwise pretty terrible year for the Giants to this point. But Brenly is thrilled to make the team, playing in his home park. Looks at a strike, and the count is 0-1. Well, we saw Chili Davis earlier. The Giants would have also had, and probably in place of, I would guess, Davis, Jack Clark in the All-Star game. Or he not on the disabled list. He's having the best year of them all. Of all the Giants, that is. 1-1. There's Bill Caudle of the A's in the bullpen. So Brenly with a chance to drive in a run. Washington at third. Smith on at first with 2 down. They send Smith. The pitch is high, and Sundberg's throw goes back to the pitcher, but Washington doesn't bite. He stays at third, and Smith goes to second.
Well, that was a design play. You certainly don't have time to work on it, but the pitcher and the catcher must have got together. You see he's throwing it right back to the pitcher, trying to draw the runner from third base into home plate.
They've been working that play in baseball for 70 years.
But these fellows don't play together, Howard. You're right. And it has worked off and on over the 70 years.
But they are the best professionals in the business.
Inside to Brenly, ball 3. 3-1 the count.
I put that play on once with Mike Cuellar. The catcher threw it to him, and he ducked. Ball went right out to center field.
What a crowd shot you just saw.
Brenly is swinging a miss. He's trying to make it 5-1 in a hurry.
91 miles per hour. Dotson has averaged between 90 and 92 miles per hour with every throw.
Runners at second and third, and 3-2 the count. And Brenly strikes out swinging. So Dotson works out of trouble. Keeps him in the game. No runs a hit. Lead 2. It's still 2-1 National League as we head to the 7th inning.
IBM presents You Make the Call. With runners on first and second and nobody out, the batter looks at a called third strike. But the ball gets by the catcher and the batter goes to first. Is the batter safe? You make the call.
In these modern times, even the best manager needs help to succeed. For when pressure builds, it becomes harder to keep things rolling without losing control and falling behind. A manager could use the IBM personal computer for smoother scheduling and greater productivity. It can help a manager become a big wheel in the company. The IBM personal computer at a store near you.
Because there are less than 2 out and first base is already occupied, the batter is not allowed to reach first base safely. So if you said the batter was out, then you made the right call.
Darryl Strawberry, your thoughts coming into this All-Star game and the way you feel right now?
Well, I feel very delighted to be selected to the All-Star team and also start at such a young age. And I was very confident in coming into the game to do something great. And I'm just satisfied that the National League is leading right now.
Tell us a little bit about the little bit of a slump that you got into. As we were watching the game here, you said maybe pitchers pitching you a little bit different.
Yeah, I went into a tailspin. I think they was pitching me a little different. And, you know, when I was struggling a little bit at the time, and I was swinging a lot of bad pitches. And young players have the tendency of doing that instead of staying within themselves. And then I kind of found myself into a groove the last couple of weeks, and I think I'm on a good roll now for the second half of the season.
Good luck the second half.
All right, thank you very much, Dan.
Al?
Okay, Don, and here we go now to the 7th inning with Mario Soto, the new pitcher. Starting Ricky Henderson off with a strike. Jody Davis of the Chicago Cubs is back of the plate with Soto from Cincinnati throwing another fastball on the outside corner for a strike to make it 0-2. And the new third baseman from the Expos is Tim Wallach, taking over for Mike Schmidt. Henderson is batting for the first time in the game. Ricky, 2 years ago, 130 steals to set the all-time record. 1-2.
You expect to see Jim Rice?
I think so. I think Joe's going to try to get as many people in the game as he possibly can. We're looking at a complete pitcher right here. 82 hits in 127 innings.
Great fastball and a tremendous changeup inside. 2-2 on Henderson. And the 3-2. Henderson lifts it in the air to right field. And that's Washington getting underneath it. One away. So Soto keeps throwing strikes, and he finally gets Ricky. And George Brett is the batter, having accounted for the American League run as Bill Caudle continues to heat up in the A's pen.
Interesting fellow, Caudle.
Caudle having a good year. He got a bum rap last week. Said something that I think he meant in a flip sense, taken out of proportion.
He's very upset about it. Talk to me about it at length.
As Brett hits it in the air to shallow left center field. Smith giving way as Raines comes in and makes the basket catch.
Remember what it was he said, Al?
Well, one of the things, somebody asked him about not making the All-Star team, and he said, if Altobelli doesn't name me, I'm going to hit the first Oriole I see, and I don't care if it's Ripken, and I don't care if I put him out. But if you know Caudle, you have to know the circumstances under which he said it. He's a little bit like Quisenberry, where you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt, consider the circumstances. It winds up in the paper, columns are written off what he says, and the next thing you know, he looks like a bum. Popped up, shallow left field, off the bat of Sundberg. And it's Timmy Raines making the catch. So he said it in jest, and he'll probably be coming into the game. 3 up and 3 down. It's still 2-1 National League after 6.5.
열광적인 야구인. Als honkbal begint krijg ik de kriebels in mijn lijf.
Lefebvre that baseball cheer preso.
In any language, baseball fever, catch it.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Bill Caudle in the pitch for the American League. Talk about the controversial situation, and Howard asked him to explain what went on last week.
Well, Howard, you know how it's been in the past where I wasn't selected and things, and I think that a lot of times the press picks up on that. And they informed me that they had talked to Joe Altobelli, and he said that he didn't know if I was going to be there or not. And I expressed a little bit of frustration. I said, well, it's a shame that with the year that I'm having that I might be overlooked again. And they said to me, well, Bill, what in your estimation would you do? And I said, well, there's nothing I can do. I sure as heck can't go out there and throw at any of his ball players. I've got to go out there and just continue to have a good year and worry about the Oakland A's. And the next thing I hear, it was in the paper that I said that I was angry and I wanted to throw at one of his ball players. To me, I laughed at it, and then again, I was embarrassed by it because it didn't only make me look bad, it made baseball look bad. And we're not out here to be like that. We're out here to play good, sound baseball and to keep the game going. And it's just a shame that sometimes the press can do things like that to people.
Well put by Bill Caudle of the Oakland A's. And at least he has the opportunity to clear up what could have been a misconception on the part of a lot of people around the country.
Yes, he does. And a lot of times the writers really don't misquote you intentionally. There's so many people around in clubhouses at times that one writer will hear one thing and one writer will hear another.
You saw Buddy Bell, now the new third baseman, with Tim Raines at the plate. Raines batting for the first time tonight. Tim's one-year-old son, matter of fact, he's 1 year old today, is named after Andre Dawson of the Expos, celebrating his birthday. Strike here, and the count 1-2.
This is a guy you must keep off base.
Don't want him on.
Same as Henderson.
Caudle, even with nobody on base, working out of the stretch. And he takes care of Raines. One away in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Good pitch. Butter high fastball. They say you can't pitch up, but if you throw hard enough, you can.
Maybe not the kind of game the fans prefer. They like a lot more scoring, but this is a tightly played ball game with many high spots, those 6 consecutive strikeouts.
2 home runs.
In the bullpen, Willie Hernandez, and that's Mike Boddicker next to him. Hernandez of the Tigers, Boddicker of Baltimore.
Has Boddicker surprised you, Will?
Yes, very much so.
Why?
Well, when I was managing the ball club and he came up, he didn't get that Fosh pitch, which they call it, the changeup over. And until he started throwing strikes with it, we had to keep sending him back. In fact, even in his great year, oh my goodness, he wants to get in.
Look at Father Time down there. Sandberg fouling it away.
But anyway, that goes back to what you said about them young Mets pitchers. They're going to stay at AAA until they start throwing their best pitches for strikes. And that's what Boddicker did, and that's the same thing Gooden started doing.
Who helped Boddicker?
Oh, very nice.
Well, I think all pitchers have to help themselves. But Ray Miller certainly is one of the people that can deserve a little credit for it.
Sandberg
Baltimore
goes down on strikes. Foul tip held by Sundberg. So 2 down now in the 7th inning. And up comes Keith Hernandez. Keith batting for the first time in the game. Grew up here. His father, good ball player in his own right. Keith with the Cardinals, and then last year going to the Mets in midseason. And there's no love lost these days between Whitey Herzog and Keith Hernandez.
Look what he does to Caudle.
Keith going over to New York in a deal that was very unpopular in St. Louis last year. And Hernandez not particularly thrilled about some of the innuendos.
Whitey Herzog stays on his back. I love Whitey Herzog. He's colorful, knowledgeable, aggressive, challenging, but it's time to let up. Hernandez, one of the most consistent hitters in all of baseball.
Not only a great hitter, but Gold Glover at first. Frank Cashin, his general manager, says he plays first base, and this is quite a compliment. He plays first base like Brooks Robinson played third base.
I believe Hernandez has really knit this team together, not just in his talents, but in the way he brings the young players together.
You always need a veteran like this on your ball club. If you're going to
the Mets, of course, you understand, yes.
3-1 the count on Hernandez with 2 out and the bases empty in the 7th. National League leading 2-1. Fouled away again. Tommy Lasorda, no matter what he does, is going to get a response in this ballpark.
He's quite a guy.
He once, when he was a coach with the Dodgers under Walter Alston, once got into a pregame fight with then Giants manager Charlie Fox by the batting cage here. As Hernandez goes down on strike. So this is becoming routine, striking out the side. It's the 3rd time it's been done in the game. And at the end of 7, the National League leads 2-1 in San Francisco.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to the message.
A look down at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, the 1984 All-Star Game. And this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Stroh's and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smooth taste. Goodyear Blip, Columbia, captained by Tom Mattis from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Bill Sullivan, our cameraman up there. What shots we've seen from high above tonight. Friday, Special edition, ABC's Major League Baseball, either New York at Atlanta or Milwaukee at California. Join us at 8 Eastern Time, Friday night.
All right, Al, the big man is in the game with a big smile. Jim Rice.
He's hitting here in the 8th inning. Batting for Lemon and takes outside, ball 1.
This point in time, Rice up finally, almost yet to be used. And maybe they'd like to have a fellow named Kingman on that bench at this point, Earl.
Well, he's got Rice at the plate now, and he's got Tony Armas. So there are some guys that can hit the ball out of the park. But yes, Kingman can tie it up in a hurry, too.
Mario Soto to the plate, 2-0, and it's a half-swing foul. Rice is hitting in the 8 spot. Buddy Bell, when he came into the game, was inserted into the 9 spot, so he's next.
But that's what Earl was talking about. That was a great pitch, because that was the pitch Jim wanted, and he was completely off balance.
Good fastball, 2-2.
Wonder what the Twin D is doing down there.
Staying warm, I know that. As Rice goes down on strike, so he falls behind 2-0 and comes back to get him.
Didn't take long, did it?
Outstanding slider in exactly the perfect spot. Just right on the tip of that corner.
There's something in the way he sits there.
Bell, swing and a miss, and the count 0-1.
Nine American Leaguers have struck out.
Bell pops it up. Ozzie Smith wants to take charge of this one, drifting and makes the catch. 2 down here in the 8th inning. American League has been very silent.
We've gotten to see a little bit of everything in the ballgame. We've certainly seen some outstanding pitching.
We have 18 strikeouts in the game.
Yeah,
9 on both teams.
We got to see a couple long balls.
The All-Star record is 20, so we're within 2. There's a young ball player, can kill you. He hits the ball if it's over his head.
He hits this one in the air in foul territory. Might be playable. If anybody can catch it, it's Smith, and he does. Ozzie Smith into foul ground to take care of Damaso Garcia. So Mario Soto looks sharp here in the 8th inning. The American League out again in order. After 7.5, National League 2, American League 1.
Gary Carter, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs. You're getting in some very selective groupings right there. Tell us about the home run tonight.
Well, actually, in the luncheon today, I asked Dave Steve to give me a good pitch right there, and there it was, and it felt just super. It's just a great thrill to be a part of this, and to have those kind of numbers, it's even more of a thrill.
And you caught a young man who all the world of baseball is watching, Dwight Gooden.
He was fantastic tonight, Don. He's just got such an outstanding fastball along with a great curve, and I know his butterflies were floating in his stomach, and he was pretty pumped up, and with his kind of arm, he didn't need any other help. He just went out there and just blew him away.
Did you have any chance to talk to him on the bench before you went in?
No, not at that time, but just before the inning started, I went out there and I conferred with him on the signals and all, and just to go out there, have a good time, have fun, and just blow him away, and that's exactly what he did.
Good luck the second half.
All right, thanks a lot, Don.
Al?
All right, Don, and Jim Rice stays in the game in left field. Ricky Henderson moves from left to center as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. And the new pitcher is Willie Hernandez of Detroit. Dale Murphy fouls the first pitch back. 0-1.
It's great to see and hear a Gary Carter. He's all class. As Earl said earlier, spoke French today at the commissioner's luncheon. And right now, you've got to give him, if it ends this way, the MVP. Earl, do you agree?
Yes, I do. I have to agree with that. His speech in English, too, was outstanding.
It was. Oh, the big goose. The old goose is warming up. Terrifies you with the look of him.
1-1 to Murphy is inside. 2-1 the count. Candlestick garb.
thing about Gossage. The American Leaguers have had a look at him when he was with the Yankees.
Good point.
But not in this ballpark, Earl.
No.
On a night like tonight, you don't want to face the Goose.
Still a lot of daylight.
I'm just saying, it's starting to get a little chilly. 2-2. You're going to face Gossage, it might as well be 85, 90 degrees.
But you wouldn't believe me. You drive 30 miles south of here.
And you go swimming right now.
Well, what Al means
Well, I convinced you.
in weather like this, there's a lot of bees in the bats.
In the air to deep left field. This one may be out of here, and Murphy's hit a home run. Boy, does he love this ballpark.
It was so easy. He just reached out. So easy. And again, I say, every time I'm in the ballpark, this guy wears the ball out. Watch how easy he goes out. Outside screwball. Just gets out there, flicks the wrist, and it went out pretty far. Another look from the center field camera.
So you get an insurance run. And with the pitching the National League has...
Wallach hits a bouncer down to third, and Buddy Bell's throw over to Murray is in time. One away here in the 8th inning. So 4 runs in the game, and 3 of them on homers. Gardner, Murphy for the National League, Brett for the American.
When I managed, I wanted to win the All-Star game, and I tried everything I could to win it. But when the game was over, I was always happy that none of my players hit out of turn, or that none of the opposition hit out of turn, because it's hard to keep the score sheet straight in a game like this.
Washington. Well, the only thing is, Earl, the other manager has to make the appeal if a guy bats out of turn, and he has no idea what you're doing either.
Well, I'll bet you it happened.
A lot to that.
I'll bet you it's happened sometime or another, and nobody caught it.
But we've had something special going for him, like every spring training. After going through the same old regimen, he would talk to his team, and he would say, now look, that's it. We're ready. If there's anything else you want to know, talk to Palmer. He's the next man in charge.
That's exactly right. You know, he was always there.
And then Palmer would get up and say, thank you, Earl. It's a funny thing. Whenever anything goes wrong, I'm the next man in charge. When we finished third, I always was. But then, when we'd win the pennant, Weaver was the man who was in charge. No one to share the blame with, only the credit.
I learned that from Lasarda and Sparky Anderson.
Well, Sparkaroo began the week saying the balance of power has shifted. There's little time left, at least in this game, for him to prove it.
Well, the balance of power shifted, but what about that pitching we've watched?
Oh, Hernandez drops down sidearm to get Washington. Nasty pitch.
That pitch is why you can't, that pitch right here that we're going to look at, sidearm curveball, is why you can't load up the lineup with left-handers against Hernandez. Outstanding sidearm curveball.
But not the Scrooge.
No.
Up there. 2 down. Jody Davis of the Chicago Cubs takes outside. Ball 1. 1-0. The gap.
Saw some outstanding offensive stats from a catcher who's really improved defensively.
Those standings in the National League East are upside down right now.
Very quick game, by the way, for an all-star game.
Liner to left field, right at Rice, who makes the catch. And that retires the side, but the National League adds a run on the home run by Murphy. And the Americans come up in the 9th with the Nationals on top, 3-1.
In weather like this, there's a lot of bees in the bats.
In the air to deep left field. This one may be out of here, and Murphy's hit a home run. Boy, does he love this ballpark.
One chance left for the American League. Your summation up to this point, Jim.
Well, really, it's a game of lost opportunity for the American League. They had a chance to have a big inning. As we said before, Valenzuela made the big pitch to Rodney Carew, and Garvey made the big play along with Gary Carter. Right now, it's just a little bit more of National League power. It's been a great pitch game, but the American League's made more mistakes, and that's why they're losing.
Your pick for the All-Star of this game?
Well, I said it before. I think Gary Carter. He got a home run to put him ahead and also made a great play on Garvey's throw.
I think that's about it. Let's go back to Michaels. Thank you.
I think that about sums it up. Now the American League has to worry about facing Goose Gossage in the 9th inning with the National League on top 3-1. And Eddie Murray to lead things off. Tony Pena of Pittsburgh is the new catcher. I tell you, the way Murray was swinging in BP, Earl, and the way Gossage throws, if Eddie makes solid contact, upper deck.
Well, we'll all be looking fastball right now. We saw some hard throwers tonight, and here's another one.
You know, you said something early in the game, Earl. That's so true. These people... Once Ralph Houk wrote a book entitled Ball Players a Human Too. And Eddie, for a long time, sulked because, sulk might be strong, but he was disappointed that he never got the recognition he deserved. And he was hurt deep inside when he didn't start this game, but he has learned to adjust.
Yes, he has. But there again, one of the things that upset Murray was the fact that a writer wrote something that was entirely untrue about Eddie during the 1979 World Series. He didn't even want to give an interview.
What was that?
Well, it was about the Watts area and his upbringing.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. And again, a swing and a miss. 3 heaters. That's 95 miles an hour on the speed gun on that last pitch.
And what chance do you have at that?
0. That's your 20th strikeout of the game.
Ties the record.
And it brings up Don Mattingly to bat for Griffin here in the 9th inning. Mattingly of the Yankees hitting .333 in his first full season. Mattingly fouls it back. 1968 game had 20 strikeouts.
Earl, here's a kid with a beautiful batting stroke.
Yes,
in the beginning, he was suspect with you. You didn't think he had the power that he has shown.
No, he was trying to make the Yankees in 1982 when I was still managing, and everything that he hit that season went to left field. How quickly they learn, though.
Some.
Well, he has great bat control. He reminds me a little bit of Carew. He can hit the ball any spot in the park.
This is just 1 inning for Gossage, but so important to him personally.
Mattingly fouling it away, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes with Winfield waiting on deck.
There is so much inside of this man that he is never really told. He will never really tell everything. It's too complex.
In the air to left field. Tim Raines coming in through the logo and makes the catch. And so the American League is down to its last out. Winfield is about it. The American League has not, well, I'm just looking back in the scorebook here. They've had 1 base runner since the 3rd inning.
And that
was that windblown double.
Fly.
Right. Murray hit that little pop-up.
Ed Murray.
And outside of that, zilch, not even a walk. Big play, as Jim pointed out, was the double play turned in by Steve Garvey.
Isn't this interesting? Ironic. It should have ended this way. The Goose ending the game against a former teammate, whom he, by the way, vastly respects. What was it Negro told me, Al, earlier? He said, right now, Winfield is the greatest baseball player I have ever seen, which is high praise.
Especially the way he's been going in the last month and a half.
One thing you can say, this is the best athlete in baseball.
1-1 pitch is fouled away. Well known that he was drafted by teams in 3 different sports.
Of course. Could have been a great NBA player. Could have been a superb tight end. Football always having been Earl's basic love. And then, of course, baseball.
Well, the goose call starts at Candlestick because we're down to what might be the final strike of the game. And the 1-2 pitch is ripped to left field and into the corner. And Raines makes a diving catch but drops the ball. He almost ended it, and Winfield winds up with a double. But great effort by Raines in the corner.
But that's what Winfield has been doing in his last 33 games. That's a typical Winfield hit. He tears at the ball. He scorches it.
Look at this. Wouldn't that have been some way to end the game right here?
What an outstanding effort by Timmy Raines. He went a long way for that. Completely outstretched.
Oh, he had it.
But the jarring fall is what knocked the ball out of his glove.
I don't see how it got out.
Well, it did.
He had it.
So it's a double, scored as a double for Winfield. Keeps the American League alive for Ricky Henderson, who looks at a strike.
Don't sell this fella short on power.
Look at that, though.
Yeah, but look at...
He never touches the ball against him.
Wouldn't you like to have Kingman up at this point?
0-2 the count.
Wouldn't you?
Yes, I would.
Okay, that's it.
If I wouldn't have seen that graphic, though, I don't mind having Henderson. But those are the things that we have in the dugout that help managers make decisions during the course of a ball game.
I love that sign, though.
Kung is gone, but not forgotten.
Yeah. They didn't love him that much when he was here. I got news for you.
That happens everywhere to the man, but not this year.
You know, Joe still has the player that's leading the American League and not leading the American League, but with 22 homers on the bench.
No balls, 2 strikes the count, and strike 3 ends it. So the game ends on strikeout 21 to set an all-star game record. Goose Gossage gets the save as the National League wins it by a score of 3-1. Still upcoming will be the presentation of the MVP award to the most valuable player of the 1984 All-Star Game. As you look at the line score and the totals, the National League wins it at Candlestick Park by a score of 3-1, and we'll be back after this message and a word from our local station. Fernando Valenzuela of the Dodgers comes out of the bullpen to work in the 3rd inning.
Just 23 and already appearing in his 4th All-Star game. Fernando showed just how spectacular he could be.
And down he goes here, so Valenzuela has made Winfield and Jackson look about as bad as you'll ever see Dave and Reggie look back-to-back.
As he struck out a trio of perennial All-Stars.
And strike 3, a fastball, so he strikes out the side. It's still 2-1.
Up next was the rookie everyone in baseball was talking about, Dwight Gooden.
Once the phone rang, I got the call that I was getting up and going to the game after Fernando. I mean, I was very, very nervous. But I was probably more nervous that I didn't want to, fail on national TV.
2-2 pitch to Parrish. Got him swinging.
Gooden was overpowering.
And he strikes him out.
As he matched Valenzuela's feet.
And Gooden strikes out the side.
Anytime you dominate in an all-star game, it sends your career on a different path.
Gary Carter of Montreal. Good year. The number is reflected there. Hits it to deep left field, and Winfield will watch this one go out of here. Sandy Carter, Gary's wife, looking on at Candlestick Park, and that one into the wind, which has died down. Gives the National League a 2-1 lead.
Well, Steve didn't like it. He got a slider up and out over the plate.